Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today we're going to talk to Miss Lisa Michelle Urbanski, a beautiful young lady from Canada, a podcast producer herself, and more importantly, her journey into that beast mindset, coming through all kind of obstacles and then coming back to enlighten not only herself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but she's passing that gift on to other people as well. So let's welcome to the show, Lisa. What's up, Lisa?
Yeah, not much. How you doing? It's I'm in Winnipeg, Canada. We're having like a bit of a snowstorm today, so it feels good to be bunkered inside. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hopefully you got, you know what, when you're caught up in the snow in Canada, like I said, we have been getting a lot of Canadians on the show, and you guys are so lively and so friendly and so outgoing. So my question here before we start the show, we have a different take on being snowed in here. What's it like to be snowed in Canada? What does bunker down mean in Canadian terms when you're snowed in?
You literally cannot go outside, so you have to like trek through the snow. It's like imagine snow up to the middle of your door. So it's like, yeah, it's like the funnest time ever. You just throw snowballs at each other and make snowmen, and no one can go to work, and everyone snowmobiles down the street. Yeah, it's the best if you can get outside.
What do you eat? Like I like chili. What do you got? What do you guys' dish when it's snowed in like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think everyone craves like a hot meal when it's cold outside. So I'm constantly making tea all day long. I just made some stew before the show. So yeah, it's
Um,
something comforting about it.
yeah. Now let's get right down to it. And thank you so much for taking time out to come onto the show. Such an interesting story. But first, before we do that and get into the 10-year part of this journey, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I've always been really like a cosmic thinker, always really expansive, a woman that never played by the rules. So I've always been like unconventional in a sense. Yeah, and I grew up in a small town, wanting more out of life, but also being really sensitive to energy. So I was always feeling everybody else's energies, and I was always given all these tasks because people always felt really comfortable around me. And so I was given a lot of responsibility as a really young child, but I didn't understand any of it. I guess I had a really good poker face. And so I was so interested in expanding my mind.
When you said a lot of responsibilities, give me an example of that. And you grew up in a household with both mom and dad, brothers and sisters, a pretty well structured family, no dysfunctions as far as you can remember.
I mean, there's dysfunction in every family. My family was incredibly dysfunctional. I had an older brother who was an overachiever, and parents who really expected us to work real hard. And so we were put pressure on. There was a lot of pressure put on us to like do really well in school, to work really hard for everything we achieve.
Hmm.
Um, but I had this old soul. So like I was in kindergarten and the principal would like give me a job to, help the new exchange student find her bus route and show around the school. And so I was always like given these tasks to do and looked at like I was like older than I was.
Right. How did that make you feel? Now that you
I
look
mean,
back
when I
on
was
it.
that age, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was nervous and scared and terrified because it was like, I need someone to look after me.
Hmm. When you just brought up something and you need somebody to look after you, Were your parents too involved in their career that was kind of like maybe an oversight?
No, it was more of my mom was super anxious and my dad worked a lot. So he was always on the farm doing things. And my mom was just really emotional and anxious and she worried a lot.
So you guys are farmers? Did I get that? Did I understanding?
So I grew up in the country. Yeah, my family had an acre, like all lived on the same mile road essentially. And my uncle was a farmer, is a farmer. He's still here. And he lived right next door to us. And so my dad helped him with grain farming a lot of the time.
When did the shift change? Because we get 10 years of addiction. And what type of addiction was this and when did this take place? Because seems like so far, excuse me, seems like so far your life is pretty good. You know, you guys have farmland, you close knit family, a little bit of crazies. We also have that a little bit in our family, a little bit of overachievers. Those things are pretty much what you have in your household. But other than that, everything seems to be okay. So when did the shift change for you? Because were you exposed to the big city? Because you said you grew up in kind of farm, so you weren't really subjected to the bigger parts of Canada, right?
No, it was all this inner desire to expand. So I was like really curious about substances and cigarettes and alcohol. And so for my 12th birthday, I got all of my friends to sneak some alcohol from their parents, and we all had this camp out in my in my yard and started drinking like vodka um and then we found some cigarettes at the zoo, and I remember smoking those, and like it just felt gave you this feeling of like being in control, if that makes sense. It's like I felt like deviant, and there was a part of me that really enjoyed that.
Okay, you're 12 years old and you're taking your craft that you learned in kindergarten of quote unquote responsibility, but leadership, and you're convincing other 12-year olders are probably were they your age or younger? They had to be younger because they're sneaking alcohol and
No, we were all in the
cigarettes.
same grade. Yeah, we were in the same grade.
Okay, you're not telling us the full story. You was pretty bad growing up, wasn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was yeah, I like to party and I like to have fun and push the rules. Yeah, definitely.
When you said that you convinced these individuals to participate in your deviance of consuming alcohol and adult behavior, how long did that last? And how do you think that contributed to the 10-year span of addiction?
Yeah, that was like the catalyst for it, I guess. I mean, we got busted. We're 12 years old. My parents are home. They see us walking around the yard drunk, and the boys are in their boxers, and the girls are crying and walking down the gravel road. So, I mean, it was pretty obvious that something was going on. So, I remember my mom finding the bottle of vodka in the tent. And I mean, I was grounded for that entire summer. And I guess it's just I was always like friends with the older crowds, and in a small town, that's what we did. We partied a lot, and I was just so interested and intrigued with experimenting with different substances. And so we started using marijuana. Um, and then as things got older, I just started doing it more often. But believe it or not, my grades were like I was getting A's. Like I was getting straight A's. I was doing really well. So there was this contrast. It was like I was presenting as this girl who had it all together,
Mhm.
but in the background, it was like I was totally messed up. I was so lost. I didn't know who I was, and I was outsourcing all of my power to those substances to hold it together in a sense.
Let me ask a couple of questions here. When did if you're from a small town and everybody is kind of close knit, so to speak, how did you even have accessibility to these substances without your parents and your family members even finding out? And how did you even participate in doing them? Because your mom found it, the first bottle, inside the tent. You own a farm. How did you conceal all this stuff? How did you get your resources, and how did you conceal your resources?
I mean, small town, there was 2,500. So, I mean, it's not as small as maybe you may think it is. So, I mean, I was friends with the older crowd. Like I said, I had an old soul. I am really social. I had a lot of friends who were older than me, so they would buy me cigarettes, buy me alcohol. The older crew who went to the big city would get their drugs and bring it back and sell it. So it was everywhere. Yeah, it's not hard. It wasn't hard.
So who was taking accountability and responsibility? I mean, if you did that here in the States, man, you'll go to jail. I
hmm
mean, you would think somebody knowing that even though you are hanging out with the older crowd, I'm not going to contribute to a minor. Does that make any sense? So
hmm
who was taking accountability? Nobody, just free will, and they can care less of the consequences, or the fact that maybe what if you OD? What if you die from alcohol poison?
Yeah, I mean, it was a different time back then. So the troublemakers, I didn't cause a lot of trouble. It was all we just used in our friend group and had parties in homes and I didn't cause trouble. So as much as I might sound like a troublemaker, I didn't cause trouble. So the people who were the troublemakers, they stole the attention from the police and all of that, and we just kind of lived our life, if that makes any sense. I was under the radar because I appeared to have everything together, right? Like I'm doing really well in school. I'm into sports. I'm a high performer. But that it was like almost like a secret life.
And nobody in your family was aware of maybe a shift change in your behavior? I mean, if you're under the influence, you show some type of behavior pattern.
Yeah, when I got older, I found prescription drugs, and that was my vice. Is I tried opiates for the first time and became reliant on them and addicted to those, and that's when I couldn't hide it anymore because I was going to university and I was using, but people were noticing that my behavior was slowly deteriorating. Like I was looking like I was unwell. So I ended up moving home after a toxic relationship and confessing to my family that I was addicted to the prescription drugs. So eventually I had to come back to my family after moving out to tell them that I needed their support and I needed help.
How hard was that for you?
It was really scary. The first scariest thing was having to move home. I was like, you're in your mid-20s and I was living with a man and it was like everything falls apart, right? And I'm relying on these substances. And the scariest thing in that moment was how am I going to move home and continue using these substances? Because that's all you think about.
You mentioned dysfunction or a toxic relationship. Were you guys both users, addicts, so to speak?
Yeah, my God, that's all we did. It was like that's why we got along. So we lived together and had a lot of people come in and out of there and everyone would use drugs.
I mean, did you ever sit back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Or were you that far gone?
I always knew that that wasn't who I was. So through all of it, I had this burning desire, this light in my heart that yelled at me every day that was saying, "This is not your life. Hold on. Hold on. You're going to make it through this. You're going to get through this. This is not you." And so I was able to overcome a lot of things that a lot of addicts aren't able to because I had this special gift inside me that was waiting to be revealed. So it was like a powerful feeling, but also this contrasting, like, I don't know how I'm going to survive, but I know when I do and I get through this, it's going to be worth it.
Let's go back a minute because it sounds crazy. You said you was able to get over some things that most addicts couldn't. What are those things that most addicts couldn't get over that you did get over?
Breaking the cycle, believing in myself, stopping the drug use, going for help, asking for help, seeking out rehabs, wanting more, pushing myself, getting jobs, continuing to hold a job, staying in university as I was struggling. Like, even though I was reliant on substances, I still pushed myself to achieve and to make something of myself, um, and push through that. So I feel really grateful for that, and I don't take that for granted.
How old were you when you had to finally go to your parents?
I was in my mid 20s. I would say 27, about 26, 27 years old.
Were you close to are you close to your brother, the overachiever?
I am now. Yeah, we didn't get along that well when we were both in school together.
How did he This is a two-part question. Were there resentments towards him because he was an overachiever? Because you had to almost get validated from your mom and your dad because of what they expected of you, even though you was exhibiting academic excellence. I would think dealing with an overachiever in the household, that can kind of put a little bit more light on you as well. The more he achieves, the more you have to achieve to level up, so to speak. What was that like for you? And was that one of the cases as well that might have triggered you to what we might say go outside the box?
Yeah, I mean, he always did better than me at everything. And so I probably had an intuitive way of wanting to compare to him to get recognition, essentially, especially from my father, because my brother was a AAA hockey player. And so he was always doing these things that my dad was involved in. And I wanted to make my dad proud of me. So I think that was part of it subconsciously,
Mhm.
but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. My brother actually really resented me and was really angry at me because I was out of control, and he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So he did not enable the behavior. He actually stopped talking to me for a while when he found out what I was doing. And I think that was the best thing for me, was cutting that communication, because it showed me that he really actually cared about me, and he believed in me, and he wanted to see more from me. So he was like a catalyst of change for me because he believed in me.
You said you're better now.
Yes.
How long did it take, and what was that like? Who shared with who? What each one of you guys were feeling that enabled you to men? And I'm gonna tell you where we're going with this to the listeners as we start to dig deeper into Lisa's journey. You will understand the power of release, forgiveness, and trauma, and how it all pans out. So for a while you guys wasn't communicating. So now you're back home. You probably still wasn't communicating with your brother when you was at home. Was he even more saddened because you were back home and felt that maybe there is hope or hopeless for you?
So he had moved away for university, so he's older than me, so he wasn't around.
I'm pretty sure your parents told him you was back home.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We didn't speak a lot. Um we didn't speak a lot until later on when he would come home and visit. But then I turned everything around, and I started really focusing on sobriety and moving on to that next chapter of my life.
Did he tell you to, or did you take it upon yourself, or did your parents give you an alternative? Because I want them
No,
to
it
see
was
how
all
hard it
me.
was to for you. Because you said it was easy for you, but I'm trying to let the viewers see how easy it was for you. Did they say, "Hey, were you ever given ultimatums from your family?" Is what I'm trying to say.
And I've never once would say it was easy. It was the hardest, most treacherous, most awful time, excuse me, in my life. It was absolute hell. But what I'm saying is that I knew I would survive it deep in my heart, that energy. Um, my parents told me that they would spend essentially their life savings to send me away to a rehab. And that when they came to present that to me as like a I guess what do you want to call it? They just came in and they just said, "We will send you here. Do you think that would be helpful?" I think that flipped the script for me, and I was like, shit, I can't let my family do that. So I'm gonna get my shit together, essentially. And I want to say there's no real explanation to my sobriety besides waking up one day and being ready to face it. And so when you're ready to face it, that's when change happens. But until then, I did not know how I was going to get out of the dark, but there was pinholes pierced in the dark walls that were shining some light in that showed me that there was a way. So I just didn't know I still call it a miracle.
Usually, when people are in this situation, you was attracted to, let's call it what it is, chaos. You had a relationship that was with a drug addict. There was probably more of those same repeated behaviors. When you try to redeem yourself to get yourself back because you knew something was burning in you, how difficult was it to get rid of the backstabbers? Did they want to leave? And this is a good question I got to ask. A lot of times when you're hanging around those people, they don't want to see you get clean. How difficult was it for you to transition? Because it's you just ain't cut those people off cold turkey to some degree.
Yeah, essentially I did. I had to get a new cell phone. Um, because we were out of the city and out of the town, it was easy for me to hide essentially for a while. But I ended up moving to the city and I just had to ignore them. Like if they did get my cell phone number, I literally started my life over. So it was like I had to cut all communication with all of those people from my life. And it was traumatic. It was really hard for me even to go into the small town I grew up in because if I would run into those people, it was like PTSD. You feel that in your gut and you remember the times. But eventually, when I started getting better, I ended up helping a whole ton of them. They were inspired by the work that I was doing, which actually inspired them to want more for themselves. So years after I got sober, I went back and I helped a whole bunch of them get through some of their toughest times. So it was beautiful actually.
When you was helping them get through their toughest times, based on your experience, what did you guys find out that you had in common that
I
led
mean
them to
everybody's
led all you
using
guys into
everyone's
doing?
using to cover up anxiety and depression and their mental health, right? So it's like uncovering the self-love. It's like learning how to love yourself again. So really addicts struggle with managing feelings. They struggle with trauma and they don't want to feel anything. So it's really uncovering that and learning how to like radical self-love, essentially.
What were you running from and chasing? Because so far, your life didn't appear to be bad at all. You just decided you wanted to be rambunctious, but I didn't see any. Let me go here with this. I didn't see anything that would indicate. I'm not a therapist, nor am I going to play one on this show today. But I don't hear anything that resonate to trauma because you said you had a great life, other than your brother being this. But now let's go here. You do start experimenting with these substances. you are in close proximity with other individuals that at the time you didn't know why they was using and doing things as well. Now that you come out of recovery and you do a self-reflection and you did the work with those people, what did you find out about yourself?
I realized that I was an empath and an intuitive, and that I could feel and sense energies that were outside of myself. And so when I was using, it numbed me and it allowed me to just feel free of that. So when you're really sensitive to everyone else's energies, you don't even know what your own feelings are. So I was a young girl who had a lot of trauma trapped in my body and who could see and feel other people's trauma as well. And I thought it was my own because no one teaches you that stuff in school. You're never taught how to manage your emotions. You're never taught how to manage your nervous system. So I was stuck in fight or flight for many, many years in a very anxious body without knowing it. And so the alcohol, the drugs, the partying, they gave me freedom from that. Even if it was a synthetic version of freedom, it felt like freedom.
So let me make sure I'm clear with my understanding here. You had the ability to have im, 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 feeling other people's emotions, but make sure I'm understanding your trauma that you're telling me was the burden of feeling other people's traumas and things they was going through that you are now carrying their load. Am I understanding that right?
No, it's not a burden. It's a gift. And so having the ability to feel what other people are feeling. But when you don't know how to manage it and when you don't know how to protect your energy in a sense, um, then it can feel like it was my own. So it was like, it's like if someone really, really sad walks in a room, you're gonna feel that emotion from them.
Hmm.
But if you're not aware that you actually feel it like a sponge, like empaths do, who are intuitive, then it's going to feel 10 times worse for you than it does for an average person.
You mentioned losing your life more than as many times as you can count. Go explain that part.
There were several times when I was using that I was using so much that I didn't know if I would wake up the next day. I overdosed several times. I was in the hospital several times because of overdose. And several nights where I didn't want to die. I really did not, but my heartbeat was so faint. And I remember I would force myself to stay awake and just chug water, just continue chugging water because it was like I was going in and out of consciousness and just holding on. And again, that voice was telling me to hold on. So there was many times, when you're an addict, there's no top end. It's like you're chasing that feeling that you usually never get again after the for the first high. But it doesn't end. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be here today.
One thing I do know, when you're in the hospital, you have to provide an emergency contact. Your parents didn't know that you almost OD'd several times in the hospital?
Um, I was an adult at that time, so I mean, I wasn't unconscious. I was just really sick.
Wow.
So you go to the hospital and you're throwing up constantly. So I would lie. I would tell them I had food poisoning or something, or like talk to the doctors, and eventually they knew because they're not stupid. But when you're an adult, you're not forced to tell your parents, right?
Yeah. I misunderstood. I thought you was like almost died and felt like usually when you're at that state, somebody's making a phone call.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, In I'm lucky to be alive. Like just that laying in bed at night in a sweat, the bed is soaking wet, my heart's barely beating. I never told anyone. I would just, like I said, chug water and like pray and hope that I wouldn't die. So it's like that. It was more that feeling. That was on my own, essentially.
You talk about your healing journey. You also mentioned releasing wounds. This allowed you to release. When you talk about releasing, what are you releasing on through this journey of your of self discovery with all you've gone through?
So I learned how to remove trapped emotions from the body through energy work and through actually facing the trauma. So once I started removing the trapped energy from my body, um, it became powerful because then my body started healing on its own. So doing things like yoga, meditation, being in stillness, learning Reiki, doing different things with the body that are kind of separate from the Western medicine world really started helping me feel better.
When you say different from the Western world, explain that a little bit, please.
Yeah, I several times went to doctors in the hospitals for help, and they would put me on more medications, and essentially everything that they were doing was making it harder and harder and harder, and it wasn't helpful. And so I had to seek out natural paths and use natural ways of healing. It wasn't until I started doing that that I started healing, actually, because doctors essentially they would just put me on more medications. They're like, "Oh, you're anxious? Well, here's some more medication for that. Oh, now you have a side effect from that medication. Well, let's put you on this medication to get rid of that side effect." And then I felt like a zombie. So it was like being addicted to drugs, then going on medications to manage the symptoms from that, and then feeling like you're completely numb and not yourself. So learning how to get kind of purify my body so that I was natural.
You mentioned something about going to the doctors and they getting ready to prescribe medication for you. Were they aware that you were a recovering addict with medications and alcohol prior to them seeing you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't you think that's kind of odd that knowing that your biggest issue is addiction, that they will give you more medication?
Yeah. I mean, I was in the system for a long time. So, yeah, it's bizarre.
With that said, when you look back at your journey of going through all that, what was the what was the most scary part of this so far? The ideal of losing
This,
your family, the ideal of losing your life, because so far you have what appears to be a great life, but just made a few little childhood mistakes growing up that happened to manifest into something a lot bigger.
the scariest part, I don't know. Every day was a struggle. When you're in that type of life, every moment is like like I said, your nervous system is just stuck in fight or flight. It was all scary. It was like not knowing how I would actually get out of it. It was like not knowing if I would ever make it, not knowing what was going to happen, but believing that there was something so much better and bigger for me. So I don't know if I would call it fear of anything. It was just having to learn how to have trust and faith that the toughest parts were going to lead me somewhere magical.
What was the three things that you had to employ first in your life, in your journey to make these things possible?
The three things I had to implement, you said,
Yeah. Hmm.
um, a healthy routine, um, a good coach, and a holding a job. So I found when I was in a good routine and I started working out and I had someone to talk to about the mental angst that I was going through. And working in a career that made me feel good was helpful.
What career were you working prior to what you're doing now that made you feel better?
I started doing legal work. So I started working with as a probation officer. So I did work with criminals in the system. So I got to work with people that were struggling and had gone through similar things that I did. So I actually volunteered at a jail and I was talking to people who were stuck there to be a source and outlet for them, a company. So I just started giving back and offering my experience even when I was still healing so that I could help other people and relate to them. I just started getting really interested in their stories.
Let's talk about this gift that you got. Let's talk about frequency, alignment, body, and soul. Explain that to me. And more importantly, let's talk about the energy walker. What is that? The life force energy, and is it Kulunai?
Kundalini. So Kundalini is essentially I'm a Reiki master. So I work with life force energy, which is inside all of us. And through the power of intention and my hands, I can help people heal by removing energies from the body. I also am able to communicate with people that have passed, and I am able to hear messages from other people's bodies. So when I really healed the trauma from my body and used those tools that I now use on other people, that's when I started feeling the best I've ever felt in my life. And that's when those gifts started coming into my world. And as crazy as it sounds, and I'm like, what is happening right now? It's been the most powerful. And it's really amazing to see other people how they feel after leaving a session. It's they say it feels like they get like an energetic reboot. So essentially I'm removing trapped emotion and energy from the body, which can be layers and layers and layers and layers in our system from years and years of trauma, from not speaking our truth, from not acting in the way we wanted to, from holding on to anger, from not crying, from doing all these things for treating our vessels poorly. Once you start removing that, the body starts thriving.
Now, is this, how did you master this? Is this something you have to go to school for to be a Reiki master? I mean, what's the qualifications? There's tons of individuals that say they're a Reiki master. I think I talked to you about one incident, and it's almost like a deck of cards. You don't know who's telling the truth or what. How do you determine a real Reiki master, and what should I be looking for with somebody that claims to be one?
So there is a course that you take, and then it's a practice. So I was taught by a Reiki master on how to utilize this beautiful gift. And I mean, how do you know? It's just like anything in life. You have to talk to, if you see someone is claiming to be practicing Reiki, you have to ask them questions. You get a feel for them. I think anyone can tell if someone is being authentic, genuinely. And if you're curious at all, try it and see how it makes you feel.
What kind of questions should I ask somebody that claims to be a Reiki master? I mean, if I'm unaware, I'm not even going to know what kind of questions I'm supposed to ask. I don't even know what a Reiki master is supposed to do to make me convinced that they know what they're doing. So, could you answer that question to the audience?
What kind of questions? So you can ask them what the work is, how long they've been doing it for, what their story is. Typically, I find, um, I mean, it's connection. If you're drawn to someone's energy, if they make you feel comfortable and good, that's a good sign that you're attracted to them. I feel like in spirituality, people come to you who need your healing energy. And so I think it's just like getting to know someone in general. I mean, you go, if it's the same thing as picking out a massage therapist. You just got to get to know them. And if you jive with them and you feel comfortable with them and they make you feel nurtured, then you're going to have a good experience.
Let's go a little bit deeper before we wrap up. You said you've been given another gift where you can talk to the people beyond. Explain that a little bit, and how did that come about, and how did you know you have that ability?
As I was learning the Reiki and became master trained, I started dealing networking, and I mean, I co-host a podcast, so we started having guests on that, did past life work and mediumship, and it was almost like all of these situations started synchronizing in my life. And then one day, I had someone hire me to work on her energy after her father passed away. And in the morning time, I heard a voice, and it was they introduced and I'm so open, and so I'm like, who's talking to me right now? And it ended up being this person's father. And he said, I know my daughter's coming to see you today. And he started talking to me. And I didn't get scared. I didn't, I just accepted it. And when she came in, I had the guts to tell her, hey, listen, your dad's here and his energy, and this has never happened to me before, but he's honestly here right now. And I was able to tell her things that he wanted her to know. And it was things that I could never have known without him actually telling me them. And so I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? And then when she was validating what I was saying, that's when I truly believed them. So I think I've had this gift for a long time, but pushed it away, pushed it down because society tells you that, people who are mediums could be crazy, or, how do you tell someone that you can speak to people who are past? It just, yeah, it scared me before I was really confident in who I was.
So, how many times have you had this encounter of spirits of the other side coming to talk to you?
I talk to them all the time. They come all the time. I'm constantly talking to my grandfather. And it's not like having a conversation. It's a knowing, it's specific, it's a feeling. So it's not like I'm like picking up a phone and being like, hey, grandpa, what are you doing right now? It's more of like his energy is here and I can feel it, and I can hear him tell me he cares about me and he sees me and to keep going. So it happens quite often when clients come in and they're laying on my table and I'm working on them. Suddenly I can hear messages from people that have passed in their life, and it'll come to me as a feminine or a masculine, and then I ask the client to validate, and then I'm able to, like, sometimes I get messages, sometimes they're just their presence is there. So
How do you
it's
know their
very unique to
presence
the
is there?
individual.
How do you know their
What's
presence
that?
is there? How do you know if their presence is there? And
They announce themselves. They
how do they?
you
How do
can
they?
feel the
I'm
energy shift
curious.
in the room.
I'm curious. How
Yeah,
do
no,
they
you can
announce
feel the
themselves?
energy shift in the room. They tell me that they're here. I can hear their messages coming in. It's a really difficult thing to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. It's just a message. It's a feeling, it's a vibe. Yeah, they announce themselves.
So they come to you, and I'm trying to think of every question my listeners will be asking. So they come to you, and let's say, for instance, Jimbo comes to you now and say, "Hey, tell Andre I said what's up." Is it, like, how does that even work?
Yeah, I think it's the way I see it is I have a gift that when I'm working on people, if their ancestors, if their relatives want to come through and be with them in my presence, people who are really open and who have an open vessel and channel, it's almost like the spirit world feels like they're able to communicate through them. And so, like I said, it's a gift. And so I use discretion. I don't tell everybody everything. I've had people come through and tell me to contact their mother to tell them this, and I don't do everything I'm told. It's not like I'm following spirit land. Because I want to respect people's privacy. I also want to respect where people are at. So if
Wait a
someone's
minute.
in my
Hold that.
space and
Hold
I'm
that
working
thought.
on them, I will gently offer it if I feel it's okay. Yeah.
Hold that thought. You just said something. So we're gonna go back a little bit. The afterlife, people will come to you to say, deliver a message to somebody. They give you a name and they're giving you a warning or whatever, but you don't tell the person on this side, what we call the living, because of what you think that they may not be open or they may think that you're crazy, but you can validate what you're about to tell the person. So why not tell them?
Yeah. I mean, well, there's energy exchange involved. So I do this as part of my career. So if I started opening myself up to the spirit land and allowing all these messages to come through all of the time and delivering them to everybody, that would be a full-time job. So I mean, I have the ability to channel messages, but I also have ability to shut it down. And so when I first got into it, I was getting all these messages and it's overwhelming and it wipes out the body. And I have told people messages that their children have said that they wanted to tell their parents if a child has passed. But I use discretion and I shut it down and I use my gift when I'm working.
You would think when we watch television and we hear about these, and we had them on our show, people that have near death experience and they come back, you would think that their energy has moved on, or should we
Mm.
say elevated to the next level of creation. So I'm asking you, best you can answer this to the best of your knowledge, why haven't they extended? Why are they still here? Because we don't know how long they've been deceased or whatever, but why are they still here? Why haven't those energy forces blossomed to the next level of creation?
That's an interesting question. I believe that they are or they have, but they still have the ability to come back and communicate. I believe spirits are everywhere with us all the time. I can sense energies in various scenarios at all times. Yeah, I think they do. I think they just have the ability to communicate with certain people, and some people get trapped. I believe that some people get trapped in the third or the fourth or fifth or sixth dimension when perhaps they've passed too soon. So if maybe someone committed suicide, I believe that they interrupted the timeline that was meant for them, and they could perhaps get trapped in this really weird place, like almost like a void. Um, but yeah, that's a tough one. Because my grandfather's doing really well. It's not like he's like stuck somewhere, but he still has the ability to communicate with me.
Do you ask them, what are you doing now?
I know that they play cards a lot.
Who's
Like
he
I
playing
get
who's
messages
he
that
playing
we're
cards with?
fine.
Who's he playing
What's
cards
that?
Who's he playing cards with?
My family. We have my grandma's passed. I've seen images of them. Yeah, he loves playing cards. So
What doesn't he want to ascend and do something else? I know he's in his own heaven, but it seemed like to me you would want to do something else.
what do you believe happens when you pass?
I believe that you have the ability to ascend to a different dimension if you choose to.
Mm.
If you choose to. If you're comfortable where you're at, I call it, if that's your heaven at that moment and that's where you're comfortable, yeah. Kind of like what you said, you have the ability to quantum leap into different areas. But to me, it seems like the whole ideal of life itself is like a flower. You want to keep blossoming and keep going and extending to source. Is what I'm trying to say.
So what I believe is that we are here on a mission, but if we don't clear up all of our karmic cycles, we will be sent back to relive until we learn those lessons. So until we truly live all of our karmic cycles and we become those conscious leaders, the people that want to help the world, that's when our timeline shifts a bit. So people, I think some people pass away and then come back in a different body. We've all had tons of past lives. So that's what I believe. So the higher you go, the more karma you clear up, that's when you get to ascend the most, transcend the most.
You're speaking my language. Need we go deeper? so
Yes.
so what's next for you? And congratulations on your recovery. Congratulations on your gift of spreading your gift to the world. I'm pretty sure, like you said, your grandfather sees what you're doing, your whole family sees what you're doing. This was a journey that took you in several different areas of life. What's next for you?
Yeah, so I just want to continue inspiring people with my story, spreading the message, working on more individuals, um, working on myself. My work is my life. And so looking after my channel is going to spread love and energy to the rest of the world just by me looking after myself. So just continuing to do good on my part and help people and spread beautiful messages. Yeah, and then we'll see where it goes.
What do you think the world is missing now? You have done great with creating your own heaven here on earth, so to speak. But but you have also had a chance to look into the hearts and the souls of a whole lot of different people, even the people that have passed and still are flourishing on the afterlife. What are we missing here? What do you think is going to happen to us as humans on this planet right now with everything that you've witnessed, you've seen, and what you've gone through?
So the energy of the planet is shifting right now into a more conscious way of living. So I think people who have been avoiding facing their trauma, who outsource their power to alcohol, drugs, and stuff like that, are going to get a bit of a rude awakening. I feel like
What do you
the
mean?
way
Say
the
rude
energy is
awakening.
shifting, and what's that?
What do you mean a rude awakening?
They're gonna struggle even more because the way the energy is shifting is we're being shifted into a higher level of consciousness. So the world is seeing a lot more people that want to work on themselves, that want to find out who they are. And it's the conscious leaders who are genuine, authentic, and allow their ego to take a back seat that are going to be coming more into the spotlight. The trending is people are going on these retreats, these health retreats. People are wanting to do plant medicine. Um, the world is trending more into like radical self-love. How can I be more of an individual? How can I be my authentic self? And so we're going to see changes in careers. 10 years from now, I can't see a lot of regular 9 to 5 office jobs being popular anymore. I think it's more about the individual and how we thrive as who we actually are.
You know what? Thank you so much. How can the viewers reach out to you?
Um, if you put my Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn links in the show notes, they can find me there. I'm constantly posting content, so I welcome anyone to message me if they feel connected to.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Lisa, for taking time to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you click that subscribe button, like, share, follow. Remember what I said. All it takes is one click of a button to change somebody's life or to make an impact in your own. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.